Vice Chair Wynn, would you care to call the meeting to order? And I think by the time we get to the first agenda items, Chair Nottoli will be joining us at that point.
I can do that.
Great. And again, apologies. We didn't think this other hearing would go on this long. And I just got through with my questions and came on board here. So.
Okay, so I'll call the meeting to order. And do we have a flag perchance, Erik? Oh, thank you. Okay. All right. If Ollie would join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty
and justice for all.
and justice for all.
Okay, thank you all. Moving ahead to roll call, please.
Thank you, Vice Chair Wynn. Chair Nottoli. Vice Chair Wynn.
Here.
Commissioner Villegas.
Here.
Commissioner Burgess.
here.
Commissioner Vasquez. Commissioner Fuller.
Here.
Commissioner Nakanishi.
Here.
Commissioner Paroli.
Here.
Commissioner Slater.
Here.
Commissioner Musi. Commissioner Agar.
Here.
Commissioner Lester Moffitt.
Here.
Commissioner Vogel.
Here.
And ex officio Assembly Member Frazier. Thank you.
Stacey, I believe you missed Commissioner Bush.
I'm here.
Thank you. I did. Commissioner Bush.
Here.
Great. Is there anyone else that I missed? Who has recently come on? Okay, we have 11 commissioners present with an established quorum.
Thank you very much. So moving on to the agenda, public comment and opportunity for members of the public to address the commission on any item that is not on the agenda. Any comments that we have from the public who are participating, or who have any written comments perchance?
Yeah, Vice Chair Wynn, we do have a substantial number of written comments on agenda item 10, the item regarding the community benefit program. And we would like those people to provide their public comment verbally at that agenda item as opposed to now. But there might be other public comment on items not on the agenda.
And that's fine, because this is obviously for comments that aren't on agenda items. So
right.
You're right. So anyway, do we have any comments received on non-agenda items?
We do not have any written comments that came in, and currently I see no hands raised.
Okay, all right. Okay, so moving along to, obviously we'll wait for Chair Nottoli to return. Move to item number 5, commissioner comments or announcements. Any commissioners have any comments at this time?
Yes, Vice Chair, this is Commissioner Agar. If you would allow me to give a quick update.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Chair. Just a quick update. I know that our Executive Director, Erik, sent out an update to our construction Delta map for all 3 districts. That's again, the Sacramento Bay Area and of course, San Joaquin area, just to keep everybody up to speed and up to date on our upcoming projects in the area. So thank you, Erik, for sending that out to to everyone that's interested in that information. We will continue to update as necessary. So when they come timely, as we are entering into the construction season. So I want to make sure that everybody did receive that. And if there's other folks that we have missed, please let us know. We will continue to do our outreach through each of the districts through our public information office. And again, we're open to expand our outreach to any other folks that would like to be on our distribution list. So if I could ask our executive director, Erik, if there is other people that like to get on our list, please let me know, and I can make sure they have the contact for the right person in each district.
Good.
And I'll stop there as far as an update for Caltrans. Thank you.
Chair Nottoli was added to the meeting, Erik.
Yes, I see that. And Chair Nottoli, we just skipped over your report from the Delta Stewardship Council, and I bet you have a very hot one to give.
Very quickly, we just got done, and we're not done yet, so we're back in tomorrow morning. So
yeah. So Vice Chair Wynn called the meeting to order, guided us through the first few items on the agenda. We were just at agenda item 5, and I don't know if you'd like Vice Chair Wynn to continue, or if you'd like to take over, but that's where we are on the agenda.
well, if you're gonna go finish out item 5, if you like, and then I can go. I'll take it from there. And Vice Chair Wynn start us out, and in light of our agenda, he'll be the one who'll complete it for us as we get to items later in the agenda. But so go ahead, Chuck, if you'd like to just finish out this item, because you got a good rhythm going there, and then I can take over on the consent for a few of the items. So
Okay, I think we're, with the exception of item number 4, which is your report for the Stewardship Council, I think we're pretty much done. I would make one comment, which is not necessarily the Delta Protection Commission item, but to Commissioner Agar in regards to Caltrans. I just want to make a comment that I appreciate Caltrans' efforts, certainly in San Joaquin County, in regards to their ongoing efforts to keep our freeways litter-free. I have no idea why California is such a trash can, but I do appreciate their efforts, and I see them out there on a freeway almost on a daily basis. So again, just a comment for Commissioner Agar, and certainly for Caltrans employees, who I think are doing a great job. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Don, and you can handle the rest of it. And if you want to do your item number 4 report on the DSC, feel free. And if not, go ahead to the consent calendar.
okay,
Actually, Mr. Chair, before you do, if I could just also thank Mr. Agar for his comments, and then also let him know that certainly this, the Delta Protection Commission could certainly serve as an avenue for unveiling what I think is going to be part of the governor's proposal to continue to make sure that our state highways remain or get cleaned. We can certainly use this vehicle as a way to continue to do that in the Delta, because I know I certainly in my office receives a series of complaints on a regular basis about trash being dumped, and everybody's getting it. But so I would love to offer us, I think, as a vehicle for continuing to carry out what I think the governor's vision is about cleaning up our highways. So just want to put that out there.
Yes, if I may comment, Vice Chair and Commissioner Villegas, I do appreciate that acknowledgement. And yes, Caltrans, especially the 3 districts here, will look for the opportunity to partner with the DPC and others in this Delta community on that effort. And once the budget gets approved, the Clean California initiative, which consists of many dollars that will be asked to be spent in cleaning up public spaces, especially near our highways and public areas through beautification projects, litter abatement, all these great things that would help clean California. So we're excited about it, and we definitely look forward to partnering with the DPC and the rest of the community in the Delta. So thank you very much for your comments, and Caltrans is here to help with that.
And Mr. Chair, if I could just append a comment onto all of those, because I would like the commission members to know that the commission does sponsor a stretch of Interstate 5 for litter removal. It's near the Lambert Road overcrossing, if you know your deep delta geography, in Sacramento County heading toward the Walnut Grove exit. But I appreciate the comments by commission members, and I just wanted to chime in with that little bit of information. If you're driving I-5 south from Sacramento towards Stockton, look out for our sign.
Okay, very good. Well, thanks to my colleagues, and I would just quadruple the kudos to Commissioner Agar and certainly Caltrans, because I know that they have been working hard throughout our, throughout our region, throughout the state, and it's noticeable. And next time I drive that stretch of I-5, if I see any litter, I'm going to give you a call, Eric. So, since you're sponsoring that area,
Please do.
okay. Anyway, again, thanks to all. Thanks for the good work, and thanks for the partnership and for comments from Commissioner Wynn and Villegas as well. Very briefly, back to item 4, because I know we have a very full agenda. We've been focused all morning and afternoon at the council on the Lookout Slough appeal, and I know I will recuse myself later in the agenda as the commission discusses that, but that consumed today, and we will start off tomorrow with public comment on that very same item. And but we also have other items on the agenda for tomorrow. 2 of them I think of interest to members of the commission and certainly others in our communities. One is an update on the Delta Levy investment strategy, and there's been, since the item was put over some months ago, been additional work that's been done on that. I think with the PowerPoint that will be presented tomorrow, folks on the commission will find that of interest, and I know it's something that certainly Eric and our staff at the commission have been tracking. We've been, as a part of the, I guess, a bit of a pause that was taken with some additional work. Their input was sought certainly from our local reclamation district representatives, some who obviously serve on the commission, and others regarding that strategy, the investment strategy. And I know a lot of comments have been received. And so I think going forward, we'll want to track this, and certainly, as the commission continues to undertake this. I think, Eric, you can correct me if I'm mistaken, but we may have this on our agenda, that item for our July meeting. Is that clear? Is that?
Yes, I believe that we will. I'm certainly anticipating that, and in terms of a particular recommendation the commission might make on the proposed regulatory language to implement the levy investment strategy.
Okay, very good. And it might be helpful, Eric, as a part of that, if the PowerPoint that's going to be presented to the council tomorrow is a pretty good abbreviated update, that might be something we want to forward to commissioners, if they're, or give them the website if people want to download it themselves, but at least gives you kind of a point in time update. And I'm sure Eric will give us a much more detailed account of that in our future commission meetings. And then just the other item I would note is that the Independent Science Board is going to be giving us an update, and we'll be talking about some of the work that they've done, certainly over the course of a number of years, but most recently as it relates to invasives and some strategies for ecological and environmental work in the Delta. And I know that Dr. Stephen Brandt, the chair, and the immediate past chair, Dr. Jay Lund, who's known to many of us, will be giving that report. So there's been quite a bit of discussion recently, obviously, about support for the Independent Science Board, but this, I think, will reflect obviously the work that the members of that board have been doing, and I think will be of importance and of interest to the commission members. So I would suggest we may want to forward that PowerPoint, and if folks are interested, certainly tune in tomorrow. That'll be probably in the latter part of the morning session. May spill over into the afternoon for tomorrow's Stewardship Council meeting. So that's all I had. I don't know anything else you want to report, Eric, of note?
No.
Okay, very good. Any questions? Okay, if not, again, Then we'll move into the regular agenda, and we have just our one consent item, which is item 6, which is the meeting minutes from March 18th. And I would ask if there's any corrections or modifications to the minutes, in addition to that. If not, then a motion to adopt would be in order.
Biggest motions if there's not any comments.
Okay.
This is Burgess. I'll second that.
Okay. Motion by Viegas, seconded by Burgess to consider approval of the consent agenda of meeting minutes. Is there any public comment?
There are no hands raised.
Okay, very good. So with no hands raised, then we need to do a roll call vote on this.
Okay. Chair Nottoli,
Aye.
Vice Chair Wynn,
Yes.
Commissioner Viegas,
Yes.
Commissioner Burgess,
Yes.
Commissioner Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Nakanishi,
Yes.
Commissioner Paroli,
Yes.
Commissioner Slater,
Yes.
Commissioner Musi, Commissioner Agar,
Yes.
Commissioner Lester Moffett,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel,
Yes.
Commissioner Bush,
Yes.
thank you. Chair Nottoli, we have 12 yeses and 0 no.
This is Supervisor Vasquez. I'm sorry, I came on late and I heard.
Thank you.
I'll go ahead and vote yes.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Commissioner Chair, that's 13 yeses and 0 nos.
All right, with Commissioner Vasquez, we have a baker's dozen. So we already got 13.
That's right.
Very, very good. Okay. All righty. And just as we move on, I just wanted to add my congratulations to Commissioner Moffett on her appointment, and certainly to thank Commissioner Justin Van Lobensel's for his service too. Again, I'm sure Commissioner Wynn covered that, but and welcome obviously Tom Slater, who's been with us for some time too and now official. So, okay, with that then we'll move into item 7, which is the Executive Director's Report, and it's been a busy day for Erik as well. And so I would go to item 7 and we'll hear the report, and then we'll take commissioner comments and questions and comments from the public. So Erik, you're up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, apologies for the kind of hinky start to the meeting there. And I did want to give a special congratulations to Commission Member Lester Moffett. President Biden has appointed her Undersecretary of USDA for Marketing and Regulatory Affairs. I think I've got that title right, but Undersecretary is a mighty important position at the U.S. Department of Agriculture. We hope that we have her on our commission for a while, but more importantly, I hope that she gets confirmed by the U.S. Senate soon so she can take on that important role. But if this is the last meeting that Commissioner Lester Moffett will participate in, I certainly want to give my appreciation to her and wish her well on this exciting new challenge she'll be undertaking. And welcome to Commissioner Slater, who has been participating as a commission member, but in an alternate role, and he's now the primary representative for North Delta Reclamation Districts. So looking forward to continued activity there and greatly appreciate being able to work with Commissioner Justin Van Lobensel's over the last 7 years. My report's going to be pretty brief. The Delta Conveyance Project, we'll hear a little bit later in the agenda about the Community Benefits Program. We did meet with the Delta Conveyance Office staff in March and talked a little bit about the development of the Community Benefits Program at that time. Later this month, we'll be joined by Council and Conservancy staff to get a presentation on the Environmental Justice Survey, and you'll get a little preview of that from Dr. Juliana Birkhoff when she presents a little bit later on that item. Moving on to the Delta National Heritage Area, we had the first meeting of our Interpretive Planning Advisory Task Group These are the subgroups that are part of the National Heritage Area Management Plan Advisory Committee. That subgroup met in mid-April. And then just a couple of weeks ago, the NHA Management Plan Advisory Committee met for their third meeting. And we're already progressing at a good pace on that and expect those activities to intensify even further in the coming months. A pretty light period of time for land use project letters, but if you have any questions about the letter we submitted, I'd be happy to answer those. Moving on to the Great Delta Trail Master Plan, we've resumed the Great Delta Trail Master Planning efforts after a hiatus when Jeremy Terhune, our now former commission staff member who has left us and has joined Commissioner Agar's team at Caltrans District 10. And we're sorry to see Jeremy go, but we wish him well on this new opportunity with Caltrans. We did pick up the Great Delta Trail Master Planning effort. Program Manager Virginia Gardner is leading that for us. And we had a technical advisory committee and stakeholder advisory committee, a joint meeting on May 6th. We now have a community survey out about assessing trail preferences. That will be open until June 4th. We're getting the word out about that throughout the Delta community. The next step is that we expect a revised draft master plan reflecting both the input from the SAC and TAC and the survey results to be presented at a TAC and SAC meeting in the fall of 2021, and then a public draft that will subsequently be released for review. So as we get deeper into 2021, and particularly the fall, you'll be hearing a lot more about that item. There still are not many upcoming events in the Delta, but we certainly catalog a lot of Delta meetings that are occurring, and those are in that part of the report. And then as has been part of my report over the last year or so, there's an update on other projects we're involved with, pages 5 to 7 of my report, a budget and spending update on page 8, and a website and social media metrics report on pages 9 to 11. And I'd certainly be happy to answer any questions about those now or at any time. One thing I will mention, this is late breaking news, but it's probably something that many commission members have heard about, but DWR did announce just this week or maybe late last week that they will be installing the emergency drought barrier at West False River. This was the drought barrier that DWR installed in, I believe it was 2015, in an attempt to repel the intrusion of salinity into the central part of the Delta and moving in the direction of the export pumps. As you all know, and as we've talked about at the last couple of commission meetings, we're headed into pretty dry conditions. And so DWR will be installing that drought barrier again. I'm told the intention is to install it between June 1st and July 1st. And it's possible that Commission Member Vogel might have more information that she'd care to offer, but I did want to mention that in case commission members had not heard. And with that, Mr. Chair, that would conclude my executive director report.
Thank you, Eric. Let me turn to commissioners. Questions or items you'd like to take up under the director's report? If not, then may go any public comments, Madam Clerk, executive director's report.
There are no hands at the moment.
Okay. That then, yeah, thank you, Eric, for the good work of the commission and for the summary of ongoing efforts. And with that, we see that under our agenda presentation. I don't believe that needs a formal vote. So is that correct? We don't need a vote to accept.
No, just present the report.
Very good. Okay, with that, then let's keep moving down through the agenda. Then we have item number 8, which is the consideration of the appointments to the Delta Protection Advisory Committee pursuant to the Public Resources Code, section 29753, sub A, and then receive the DPAC report as well. So this is going to be kicked off by Erik, and then we'll turn to Mark Pruner, the DPAC Chair, in a moment. So Erik?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll present on the appointments, ask for a commission vote, and then if you could please turn it over to actually Vice Chair Barbara Daly. Chair Mark Pruner is unavailable to present on behalf of DPAC, but Vice Chair Barbara Daly will be able to. So, but first, let me talk about, provide a little more background. The chair referenced the Public Resource Code section. It does require the commission to appoint at least one advisory committee to provide recommendations regarding the diverse interests in the Delta. The Delta Protection Advisory Committee in its current incarnation has existed since 2013. When the commission last revised the charter for the Delta Protection Advisory Committee in September of 2019, it established staggered terms for DPAC members. So we are now on a schedule where every May there will be 5 of 15 committee members that whose seats are up for reappointment or appointment, as the case may be, and those are for 3-year terms. So today there are 5 seats that that need to be filled. As we have done in the past, we put a call out for applications to the Delta Protection Advisory Committee. In this round, we received 10 applicants, including a couple of members who were requesting reappointment to the committee. I had a chance to review those with Chair Nottoli and Vice Chair Wynn in early May, and their recommendations are the following: to appoint Robin Brown of Walnut Grove as a Delta business representative, to appoint Craig Watanabe of Mandeville Island in San Joaquin County as a Delta agriculture representative, to appoint Morris Lum of Sacramento as a Delta recreation representative, to appoint Dawit Zaleke of Staten Island, technically Thornton in San Joaquin County, as a Delta habitat or conservation non-governmental organization representative, and finally to appoint Greg Erickson of Fairfield, California Department of Fish and Game Regional Manager for the Bay Delta region as a state agency representative. So that is the recommendation to the commission, and it does require commission action to appoint these members whose terms will again be effective as of today's date for a 3-year period, or until May of 2024, because I don't know that the commission will be meeting on May 20th in 2024. They might be meeting on May 19th. And so the term will run through May of 2024. And at that month's commission meeting, those terms will be up again. Anyway, that concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thanks, Erik. I would just note too that to thank all of all those who applied, and certainly thank Erik for his work and working with the commission chair and vice chair, and also we will have a couple of folks who will be leaving the advisory committee, and we thank them for their service as well, and welcome the new members. And presuming the motion is to approve what's recommended here. So, Vice Chair Wynn, any comments you wanted to make before I turn to the other commission members?
No, I appreciate Erik's report and the discussion that you and I had with Erik in regards to the applicants. It was actually a very high level quality of applicants who want to participate. But based upon certainly your knowledge and Erik's in regards to the applicants, I think the selection will certainly balance out and provide the necessary input that the commission needs for future decisions. So that's my input.
Good. Thanks, Chuck. Okay, commissioners, any questions or comments before we take up a motion? All right, seeing none. Is there any public comment, Madam Clerk?
There are no hands raised.
All right, and this is just on the portion that relates to, obviously, to the appointments right now. We're going to have the vice chair from the commission, or committee, excuse me, give a report. Okay, with that, I would entertain a motion.
So moved. This is John Vasquez.
Right?
Second, Villegas.
Okay. Moved by Vasquez, seconded by Villegas to adopt the recommendations outlined with the appointment to the seats as outlined in the staff recommendation.
Yes, that's my motion.
Okay, very good. If there's nothing further, then no further comments from commission members, then I will call for a roll call vote. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Chair Nottoli,
Aye.
Vice Chair Nguyen,
Yes.
Commissioner Villegas.
Aye.
Commissioner Villegas, could you clarify that again?
Yes.
Thank you. Just so we're all clear.
You voted yes twice.
Commissioner Burgess.
Yes, yes.
She did too.
Commissioner Vasquez.
Yes.
Commissioner Fuller.
Aye.
Commissioner Nakanishi.
Aye.
Commissioner Paroli.
Yes.
Commissioner Slater.
Aye.
Commissioner Agar.
Yes.
Commissioner Lester Moffett.
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel.
Yes.
Commissioner Bush. Commissioner Bush, if you could give us your answer one more time.
Yes.
Thank you. Chair Nottoli, we have 13 yeses and 0 nos.
Okay, very good. Thank you all, and welcome our new folks who will be seated here shortly. So with that, then we'll go to the second portion of the of this item, and that is to get a report from our current vice chair, Barbara Daly. And Barbara, we'll turn to you.
Maybe for Barbara, but also a reminder for others, if you're on the phone, it's star and 2 to raise hand and star and 6 to unmute.
Okay.
Hi there, Vice Chair Daly.
That
All
was,
right.
sorry. Thank you, Chair Nottoli. Hello, commissioners, staff, and attendees of our meeting tonight. I spoke with DPAC Chair Mark Pruner this afternoon, and he sends his best to all of you and his regrets that he couldn't be here tonight. He's attending one of his grandchildren's graduation, and he asked me to make his report for him. I'm going to give it to you as written, and as I assume was approved by our Executive Director, Erik Vink. So I will not change or ad lib on it, just so you know. This is what Mark had to say. The DPAC met on May 4th via Zoom and received a report on the recent meeting of the DCA Stakeholder Engagement Committee, received a report and discussed the current proposal for the Delta Conveyance Project Community Benefit Program. Parenthesis, in a 7-4-1 vote, DPAC recommended that the commission participate in the community benefits program discussion in some way, and also failed to approve a motion on a 2-9-0 vote to recommend the commissioners' participation should be conditioned upon DWR essentially withdrawing their current tunnel proposal. End of parentheses. Received a report and discussed proposed edits to Vision 2030, which is the commission's strategic plan, parenthesis and parenthesis, and asked to continue the discussion at its next meeting and received an update on commission staff activities. The committee asked questions and provided input and suggestions in response to each of the reports. End of the report.
Okay, very good, Barbara. Anything else you wanted to add, Barbara, that wasn't in the written report?
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay, very good. Okay, any questions for Barbara on behalf of the?
Message received, Barbara. The only thing missing at the beginning of your comments was, if you didn't like it, it was Mark's comments. If you liked it, it was your comments. That was the only thing that was missing.
I'm glad I was clear.
Okay,
Thank you.
very good. Anybody else? All right, if not, do we have any member of the public that wanted to weigh in on the DPAC report?
There are currently no hands raised.
Back to the commission, if there's nothing else, then we need a formal motion to adopt, or we just accept those, I guess.
Yeah, no motion needed, Mr. Chair.
Okay, very good. Okay, very good. All right, thanks to Mark and Barbara and to our committee for their ongoing work. And with that, then we'll keep moving down the agenda. There's no objections to item 9, which is introduction of our Sea Grant Social Science, Dr. Jessica Rudnick. And I think Erik's going to do some more formal introductions, but we certainly welcome her to our meeting and look forward to her ongoing work and certainly working with Commission and Delta communities. So Erik, I'll turn it over to you to further introduce, and then we'll ask Jessica to address us.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Dr. Jessica Rudnick is the Sea Grant Social Science Extension Specialist that is embedded with the Delta Stewardship Council Science Program. Commission members probably recall discussions and comments from your staff over the last several years about the interest in a social science research effort as part of the Delta Science Program. This was largely initiated by the Delta Independent Science Board, and it resulted in a task force meeting, and this has all culminated in the council hiring Dr. Rudnick for this position. And I just thought it would be helpful for her to introduce herself to our commission. I hope, and I think she already has been a regular participant in our meetings, and I hope she'll continue to be, but just wanted to afford this opportunity for her to say a few words about a little bit about the position itself, and then her thoughts on where she'll be taking that. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Rudnick.
Great. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Hello. Thank you, Erik, for the nice introduction. And hi, Chair Nottoli and commissioners. It's a real pleasure to be here this afternoon, and what a busy day for folks in the Delta. I admire your Zoom tenacity here. So as Erik mentioned, I'm the new Social Science Sea Grant Extension Specialist housed at the Delta Stewardship Council. And as Erik's introduction showed, that this position is a new position that sort of originated out of efforts at the Stewardship Council to develop a plan to integrate more social science, both at the council, and to develop a social science program that integrates across work across the Delta, across the multiple agencies working in the Delta. So I joined in December, and I'm just about to approach my 6-month mark, which has been an exciting and a lot of meeting folks in these types of remote forums. So looking forward to meeting you all in person. And it's been great to have the chance to get to know different Delta policy forums and hear the perspectives of different community groups. And I'm looking forward to building this collaborative approach towards social science together, involving the multiple state agencies working in the Delta, as well as local jurisdictions. And I think most importantly, the community groups and residents of the Delta that have a number of different needs and values and interests that we need to understand better. So to give you just a bit of my background, I am trained in interdisciplinary environmental social science with a focus on human behavior and decision-making. I completed my master's and PhD work at UC Davis in the Center for Environmental Policy and Behavior. And I pull from different social science disciplines for theories and methods or tools on how to go about better understanding human decision-making and how that influences behavior on environmental issues. So this includes surveying and interviewing people, doing focus groups and observing different forums where people interact and discuss environmental issues. And specifically, my graduate research focused on farmer decision-making and behavior on a number of different issues relevant to California, including climate change and climate smart agriculture, water quality, and specifically grower decision-making around nitrogen fertilizer management for the irrigated lands regulatory program, and water supply, and specifically the adoption of the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act and how different actors, particularly in the agriculture community, have engaged in that process of developing new groundwater sustainability plans. And my work was both in the legal Delta boundaries as well as in the San Joaquin Valley. I received a Delta Science Fellowship, so appreciate that funding for graduate trainees, and worked pretty extensively with a number of state agencies, local water quality coalitions, and different agricultural community actors like farm bureaus, UC Cooperative Extension, the agricultural commissioner's offices. And I share this because I think it's important to know sort of the collaborative approach that I try to bring into this work, as well as the way that I think about all of the players that sort of interact and inform how we make decisions and think about the environment. So in the Delta, of course, there are many places where we're discussing social science issues. None look no further than the appeal earlier today, but at the Stewardship Council, as Erik mentioned, there's been, the council has worked to sort of acknowledge a lack or a dearth of social science research activities, as much of the science funding to date has gone more towards biophysical, ecological research. And we have a lot better understanding of, the fish, the invasive species, the geology and hydrology of the Delta, and a lot less of the people and the communities and the residents and folks that live, work, and play in the Delta, and what they want and need and how they respond to different issues. So that's what essentially the strategy around social science that was developed by the Social Science Task Force aims to try to address. And that Social Science Task Force strategy that was released in 2020, in advance of hiring for my position, really laid out some high-level recommendations for the council to try to pursue to build capacity around social sciences. And those included, first, hiring more social scientists and building resources to support a community of social science researchers and practitioners to bring that attention into the Delta. The second sort of big overarching goal is to develop more of a framework that helps us coordinate the activities that are happening across a number of public research institutions, as well as the state government, to have a better idea of how to synthesize what we already know, and therefore identify information gaps and sort of strategically prioritize funding and energy to address those gaps. And then finally, to think about how we actually integrate this knowledge of an understanding of how people think and behave into our management and policy decisions, and to really sort of complete that circle between the science and research and the management and policy. So my plan and approach to working on this really builds off of those three recommendations from the task force. And as I've started in this role, I've been seeking input from, of course, the Delta Protection Commission staff and other bodies like yourselves, the Delta Protection Advisory Committee, and and hopefully other interested folks who have thoughts and needs about how we should focus and where the social science priorities are based on your work and what you see. So I just want to highlight a couple of the projects or initiatives that I've started to work on with a small but mighty team at the Delta Stewardship Council that are interested in this area, and some ideas of where we're headed next. And then hopefully we have some time for questions or thoughts from you all. So first, one of the priorities that came out of the task force was to develop an external network of social scientists. We have the interagency ecological program. We need something similar to that on the human side. So we're starting to build what we're calling a social science community of practice for the Bay Delta. And this is open invitation to researchers working on human dimensions issues, as well as practitioners, policymakers at multiple scales and levels, and folks working on the ground with communities who can bring that expertise in and inform the research. We held a launch event for this community of practice at the Bay Delta Science Conference in early April, which was quite successful. We had about 70 folks attend, which they were representing and coming from over 30 different institutions. We counted a number of public and private universities, government agencies at state and local levels, NGOs and private institutions. And Chair Nottoli was there, and we really appreciated your participation throughout the event. It was in my breakout room, and that was a great discussion we had. So we're going to continue building this community of practice in the coming months, and I welcome any of you who might be interested in joining that group. And we're going to sort of continue to think about what activities that network needs to prioritize first. Another area of work has been supporting integration of social science into the Council's science action agenda, which is used to set research priorities for the region and determine how science funding is allocated. And so we really want to make sure that there's more attention towards the research and science needs to understanding Delta communities. And it's essential that those research needs are in that strategic document that directs funding for future research in our area. I've also been supporting a number of efforts around environmental justice, and that includes a new project that the council staff is starting to work on to develop a white paper on environmental justice issues in the region. And while the council does that, we really want to build an outreach and engagement process that brings community groups into that work. We're also working to coordinate better across the council, the commission, and the conservancy to understand when we're asking for public input on different processes and make sure that we're spacing those out so that we're not taxing the same communities, the same groups at the same time on these, long processes where we really want engagement. But if we're asking folks to attend a bunch of meetings in the same month, we might expect to see less participation there. And then I want to just close by sharing that I'm beginning to work on an idea to develop an annual survey of Delta residents. And the goal here is to bring the needs of the council, the commission, and the conservancy together to understand what we need to track about Delta communities over time, and to make sure that we're getting a representative data sample. So we're not just surveying the folks who reply to us frequently, but we're trying to hear the voices that we don't always hear. And I think that's really important for us to reflect on whether we know the diversity and the breadth and depth of the Delta community's values and perceptions of different issues that we all work on. So I'm certainly seeking the Protection Commission's, the staff and your commission's support and collaboration on that effort. It's in very early stages, but I'd be happy to take questions or thoughts on how to develop that in an effective way now. And I want to just close by saying that I'm here to be a resource on the human dimensions issues and try to connect to the right experts in this field. So please feel free to reach out at any time. And I look forward to working further with the commission and getting to know you all better.
Well, thanks, Jessica, and certainly appreciate your enthusiasm and your initiative and again, sharing with us. And so let me just turn to Commissioner, I see I already do. Commissioner Vasquez raised his hand, so we'll turn to Commissioner Vasquez and maybe others want to comment or ask questions. And so John, turn over to you. I think you're on mute.
I had a great thought too. No.
There you go. Okay, go ahead.
No, you talked about the environmental justice aspect of it. Are you looking to BCDC? Because we did this about 3 years ago, started the work, and we actually have an advisory committee we just appointed to look out into the community and look at what BCDC is doing, and are we true to our environmental justice document we created. I don't know if you've reached out to them or they've reached out to you, but that would be a great resource to begin figuring out.
Yeah, thank you for that. Well, I know the staff at the council have spoken with BCDC and a number of other state agencies that have started developing an environmental justice plan or policy. So we got a lot of tips and lessons learned from the BCDC experience. Just to highlight the one that really stuck with me was that the commissioners that participated in that process, that was a really valuable asset to building trust and showing both the communities how the commission was engaging and vice versa. So I think we're hoping to replicate that with the council's effort, and we also have been discussing how to build an advisory committee body that will be sustained and engaged throughout the entire process. Oh, he just muted.
Today, we just made those appointments, and it's a very active group. It was an active group during the EJ committee's work. I think like I said earlier, I think we spent like 3 years on it and finally adopted the policy, and now we've adopted the advisory group to it too. So good luck to you.
Well, thanks for that. Yeah, certainly we'll keep in touch on how that advisory group is working.
Okay. Thanks, John. Commissioner Vogel, Nancy.
Thank you, Chair Nottoli, and thank you, Dr. Rudnick. I just wanted to say thank you for coming and taking some time to share your vision and a description of your work, and it's badly needed. You're a pioneer, and I look forward to seeing how you weave your work into the Delta tapestry, because there's many strands of work underway in the Delta, and we need someone with your perspective. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Vogel.
Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would echo exactly what Commissioner Vogel just said. I had the opportunity to sit on the Delta Stewardship Council during a lot of these conversations, and it's exciting to have somebody actually in the position excited about the work that lies ahead. I was particularly struck by you briefed over, you said it very quickly, you said you're going to do an annual survey. And I love the fact that you've already kind of put that out there, because I think in the world of social science, and much of what we learned when we were discussing the prospects of this position was in part that people's sentiments, their beliefs, their feelings, their concerns, their worries change. They change over time. Things are very different now than they were just 12 months ago, let alone 24 months ago. And I'm glad that you're thinking that way, because all that we do to integrate all the great data and science and work that we've already done into the social sciences has to remain fresh and current. And I love the fact that you said that, because I think to me that's gonna bring about current thinking, rather than doing it once and assuming that that's how people think for years and years, and that's not the case. So thank you, congratulations to you, and I look forward to hearing how the work is going, because it is critically important to all of what we do here on this commission. So thank you.
Thanks for that note. Yeah, the longitudinal data is so important and so rare, and just as the environment is changing, people and all of what we think and need is changing too. So yeah, thanks for that.
And given your background and your study and your work, your love for the work, I'm interested when you write a book about the retrospective of what happened during in the social sciences world, given what happened during the COVID, because I think that's going to be a fascinating retrospective, looking back at what happened to us during that period of time. I think it's going to be quite telling. So I'm sure you'll write a book about it later, right?
Probably won't be my book on the COVID process, but there are plenty out there. Thanks for that.
Okay, thanks, Oscar. Other commissioners? Anybody else? Any other hands raised, Madam Clerk? I don't see another hand.
No, there are no hands raised.
Okay. So again, Eric, may turn back to you, and then I'll ask if there's any public comment. Anything else you wanted to add, Eric, before I go to public comment?
No.
All right, any public comments, Madam Clerk?
There are no hands raised at the moment.
Well, again, we extend our welcome, and I would think that just certainly thank my colleagues for their comments, and I think we look forward to having you back from time to time, and certainly working with you, Dr. Rudnick, and your team. And I think this is exciting and provides some opportunities, I think, for laying some really strong groundwork for work that lies ahead, and certainly focus and attention on the daily activities in the Delta, both certainly with a look back, but also looking to the future. So very good. Thanks again, Jessica. Thank you for being with us. And
thanks for having me.
All right. Again, nothing further on that. We have no other comments. Then keep moving on our agenda. And that's next we have item 10, which is to receive a report on the Delta Conveyance Project, Community Benefits Program, and consider giving direction to commission staff. And I believe Eric's going to introduce Dr. Birkhoff, and then we'll have obviously commission discussion. I will note we received a good deal of correspondence, some of it very recent, even as of today, and I think it's been posted. I'll let Eric address that, but and I trust we're going to have some public comment this evening, so we'll try to measure our time here to accommodate that, and obviously come back to the commission for deliberation and any direction. So, Eric, I'll turn to you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chair. And yes, we did receive about eight separate comments. They are posted on the commission website for the people joining the meeting that would like to take a look at them. I did send all but one of those comments off to commission members at about noontime today. And so commission members will have that via email, but you or anyone else can find them on the commission's website, the page for this May 20th meeting. So at this point, let me welcome and introduce Dr. Juliana Birkhoff with the Ag Innovations firm. They are a consultant to Department of Water Resources and are working on the public engagement portion of the community benefits program. At least a bit earlier, I noted that Harry Buckman and Catherine Marquez from DWR were on our meeting. I don't know if they are still there. If they are and are willing to either chime in or participate in addition to Dr. Birkhoff, that would be great. But I'll turn it over to Dr. Birkhoff now, and then at the conclusion of her presentation, can talk a little bit about the work, the limited work really, that the commission staff has engaged on this effort to date. And then of course, I'm very interested to hear any direction that the commission would provide in terms of how we engage with this process moving forward. So with that, I'll turn it over to Juliana Birkhoff and welcome her.
Great. So I'll go ahead and share my screen.
Please.
Audio okay? Is my audio okay?
Yeah, you're audible. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, can everybody see my screen?
I believe so.
Okay, my name is Juliana Birkhoff, and as you heard, I work for Ag Innovations. Ag Innovations is a nonprofit organization. We've existed for 20 years, and what we do is help collaboration. We're focused on making sure that people have the opportunity to provide information on things that affect their lives, and we really focus on inclusivity. So let me just go over what I'm going to talk about. I'll talk about what the community benefits program components are and what information Ag Innovations has collected about people's perspectives on the community benefits program, how we did that, what we've learned, and then what are the next steps. So the components of the community benefits program are the Delta S Place Fund, which is currently a framework that includes different pieces of the framework about how to develop funds and how to manage those funds that will integrate lots of communities in that for their voice about what kinds of projects they might want funded. There also is a project implementation commitment part of the community benefits program, and that would include hiring targets, job training, local business utilization, multi-purpose facilities, those kinds of things. We have collected information from several sources to find out stakeholders' perspectives and ideas. So the first was a survey that we did in fall. And the goal of the survey was to find information from the disadvantaged communities in the Delta about how they work and live and recreate and experience the Delta. We also wanted to understand how the community values and uses its natural, economic, and social resources. So that information was gathered to first inform the Department of Water Resources project environmental review and their planning process, particularly the environmental justice chapter of their EIR. We also wanted to increase disadvantaged communities' awareness of the proposed project. And we also wanted to find out what community members in the Delta region, what was their interest in participating in public engagement activities. That survey asked several questions. We used a format where people can actually put dots on a map about their priorities and preferences in special places. So we asked them about their priorities. We asked them about businesses, gathering spots, fishing, historic areas, and they put those as dots on the map. We asked them what their community needs were, and then we asked lots of questions about demographics. We had 2,117 respondents, which I have to say we were a little overwhelmed by when we weren't quite thinking that we would have so many. Of those respondents, we had people who responded who were disadvantaged community members, so that's non-white, household income under 60,000, or had a zip code and household income is less than 75,000. So that's the people we heard from in the Delta. And then we also had 166 people who were defined as severely disadvantaged. We heard from over 300 Chinese respondents and much fewer Hispanic respondents, only 12. We asked people what was important to them. And you'll see in this slide that what was important to people consistently were these high priorities of natural resources, drinking water, habitat for fish, and those were all threaded throughout people's ideas about preserving the community, preserving the economy, and supporting local recreation. We also asked people what their current opinion was about the Delta Conveyance project. Interestingly, most people said that they didn't know enough to provide any information. So that tells you a lot for those disadvantaged community members about the need for outreach and the need for more information about the project. Then we asked people what the potential benefits of the proposal were for their community. Now, remember, this was before the community benefits program was provided. So we just said, do you see any benefits for the Delta Conveyance project for your community? So more than 2/3, 71%, said that they could see no benefits that would come from the project. The other responses, some people said there could be some jobs, there could be job training, and some people said maybe it would improve the natural environment. Again, that was before the community benefits. So this was just, could you see benefits from the Delta Conveyance project? So the next thing we did after that was we decided to interview people to begin to design the workshops and to find out what people thought of the community benefits program so far. It was very draft, and we wanted to find out what did people think so far. So the goal of these was to design the workshop and draft the concept paper. We interviewed 44 people. Those people we chose were based on people who had participated in the scoping meetings or who had participated in previous Delta meetings and the people who had participated in the environmental justice survey. So you can see that we tried to get a sort of representative key leaders in the community to interview. So from that community survey, we asked them about the concept of the community benefits program, the objectives, the funding components, the categories, and what they thought about the implementation commitments and how they wanted to be engaged. The majority of people supported the idea of a community benefits program. Their concerns, however, were that it might be too complex and how feasible was it. People were worried about developing something that entailed writing long grant proposals or having to come up with accounting measures or those kinds of things. They worried whether or not they could trust that the Department of Water Resources or the Delta Conveyance Authority would actually deliver on any commitments, and how would they know that the money was being spent in the way that they wanted to be spent. A lot of people said that there was not much capacity in the Delta to come together to decide priorities or come together to manage large funds. So people were worried about the ability and commented on other kinds of funding that made them worry whether or not they'd be able to do that. People worried that the projects would be one time, or maybe they would only happen after construction. So people were really worried about would the community benefit fund last as long as they needed to. And a lot of people commented that they wanted more information about the environmental impacts and the environmental mitigation before they could talk about a community benefits fund. People gave us a lot of recommendations. So people suggested that maybe the current programs should be funded instead of competing with any funds. They didn't like the idea of having another fund where people would have to compete with. People also suggested that instead of coming up with new sets of priorities, maybe the Department of Water Resources could fund existing community action plans or other Delta project plans. People referenced lots and lots of different plans that existed and said, you know, since those have already been done, why wouldn't you just fund those? Several people suggested that you could have that the community benefits fund could be a savings account, and residents could draw from it to provide for education or job training as they needed it. Some people suggested that the community benefits program could just provide lump sums for legacy communities, and those legacy communities could then decide what the priorities were in their area. People stressed that they wanted to make sure if there was a community benefits program, that planning and oversight was locally driven. And then they said, make sure to solicit broad input about the different types of projects to consider. So based on that input, the interviews, we developed a plan for 3 workshops and 1 travel workshop. So the goals of the workshops were for the Delta community to learn about the community benefits program. Again, noticing from the EJ survey that a lot of people didn't know what it was. For people to provide input on the concept, the objectives, the funding categories, and the implementation commitments. For people to provide ideas about what things they'd want to have funded. For people to provide implementation commitments. Provide feedback on how the Delta community could engage in design and management of the proposed program. So To accomplish those workshops, we sent invites to the community benefits workshops, to all the Department of Water Resources lists and the environmental justice outreach list that we had developed for the survey. We posted information about all of the workshops on social media, and we continue to do that. We sent flyers to all the community organizations, and we posted information in all of the local post offices. Finally, we sent postcards to community residents around the intake sites and around the project sites. So we've had 2 workshops and 1 tribal workshop so far. The first workshop asked people about the community benefits concept, purpose, reaction to the proposed components, and the proposed categories. So between 40 and 60 people participated. I say between 40 and 60 because 40 people consistently provided input on each poll, but some people provided more information in other places, so it's hard to count. And people came from Sacramento, Yolo, Contra Costa, Solano, San Joaquin, and Alameda counties. People were very clear that they do not like the Delta Conveyance project, but they are prepared to discuss the community benefit program. People suggested language refinements to the proposed purpose, objectives, and categories. So we took notes of those and revised them. And then people provided input on the categories of benefits, and they ranked natural resources, water quality, recreation, agriculture, culture, and history as their most important. Next workshop, we had comments from several people that they didn't, that they were worried about participating and how that would show support for the Delta Conveyance project. So the Department of Water Resources let people know through several several e-blasts that there was no connection between not liking the project and providing input on the community benefits program. So the May 6th summary was much more interactive. We had small groups and we asked them for funding ideas for each of those categories. And those categories were slightly revised based on the input that we've received from the first workshop. So the second workshop, 120 people participated from the same counties. People again expressed very clearly that they do not like the Delta Conveyance project, but they are prepared to discuss the community benefits program at the same time. We had 6 small groups with between 6 and 12 people in each work group. And they were all facilitated and had note takers. In those small groups, participants provided just hundreds of ideas for community benefit program funding. Some we had heard before, some we hadn't heard before in the interviews or the first workshop, but were connected to specific places. And some were very, very detailed, some were much more general. We had a tribal workshop earlier this week. 12 tribal participants participated in that workshop. Again, participants stressed that they do not like the Delta Conveyance project, but they encouraged the Department of Water Resources to hold more workshops soon and to share more information on what the community benefits program was. So our next steps then, we're holding a workshop next week on Tuesday. In that workshop, that will be the first time that people will hear information about the implementation commitments, the things that the Department of Water Resources could do as the project is being constructed, and the public participation process. The draft community benefits program framework will be included as an appendix in the draft EIR, which is expected in mid-2022. So let me stop sharing my screen, and I'm ready to take any questions or comments that people have.
Okay. Well, thanks, Juliana. Appreciate your overview and giving us an update on this. So let me turn to commission members first for questions or comments. I know we've received again a number of written comments as well, and we may have others that want to weigh in on public comment, but let me see if there's any questions of commission members first. I do have Commissioner Villegas. Oscar.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the presentation. Much appreciated. One of the slides, I think you indicated, and I think I saw it right. It said of the 2,000 respondents in the survey, I think you said there's only about a dozen that were the Spanish survey or of Spanish descent or Spanish speakers. I wasn't.
Oh.
It sounded like it was the Spanish survey, and so I wondered, was that a surprise to you, or is there some
Yes.
attempt to try to reconcile some of that? Or
It was a surprise to us. What we've learned, we spent quite a lot of time on outreach, but what we learned is it's not enough just to have the outreach to Hispanic people, and it's not enough to have outreach in Spanish, but we needed a champion to help explain to people why it benefited them to fill out the survey. We needed a community leader or some community leaders who would not just say, here's a survey, fill it out, but here's why it would help from you, which we had with some of the other groups. So it was disappointing, but it was a learning.
so is there kind of a shore up piece of this, or is there, I mean, that is what it is, or is there going to be an attempt to try to?
I don't know if there's going to be an attempt to find out more.
Okay, all right.
We don't have anything in the plan at the moment.
Okay. And then, Mr. Chair, just one other question. And then there was also a piece in the slide, I think at the bottom of one of the slides, it talked about, and I can't remember exactly how it went, but something to the effect that there was concern about the CEQA document, or something to the effect of the hopes of that the impacts of the CEQA documentation would be revealed in tandem with this proposal, or I can't remember exactly what it read, but it sounded like there was interest in knowing what the financial impacts were going to be relative to the CEQA findings before this proposal. Or can you expand a little bit about how you distilled what that comment included?
The timing is a little off. So the community benefits program needs to go into the environmental impact review. So it needs to go into that as an appendix, but people won't know what the environmental impact review is until sometime, late 2020, mid 2022. So people wished that they knew what the environmental impact would be of the proposed Delta project and what the mitigation plans could be for those impacts before they started talking about a community benefits program.
Got it.
The community benefits program could cover things that aren't normally included in mitigation. So they wanted to know what is included in mitigation so we can talk about what other things. But this is very, very conceptual, very, very early. They'll know more if the proposal goes forward.
Got it. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Good.
Chair, Nottoli?
Yes, go ahead. Commissioner Burgess. Yes.
Yeah, I appreciate the acknowledgement of that. This just frustrates me because I feel like when I've worked on projects and we talk about community benefit, we've already defined what the impacts, what the negative impacts are, and we've already worked on mitigating for that. And so when we're talking to people, I feel like, they don't even know what the impacts are. They don't know what we're paying, what we're getting paid off for in some way. And so it just is very frustrating to me that we don't know all the environmental impacts, all of the people impacts that we're talking about from this project, and that yet we are, being asked to talk about community benefits. But I appreciate the acknowledging that there were people that wish that we knew what those impacts would be before we start talking about what we would accept for community benefits. I'll have more comments after public comments.
Yeah, it's I think the timing but because the community benefits program needs to be an appendix to the EIR, the Department of Water Resources needs to say something. So that's why they're putting together this very conceptual framework, which says conceptually, this is what it could be like. But it doesn't, for me, I think it would be wrong to put together a conceptual framework document without asking the community, do you have any input on that? So
They
it's
also,
a little bit.
I apologize. Did they
It's just a-
also, oh, sorry?
Yeah, I'm sorry, the timing is just a little bit, they need input for something, and there'll be much more information later.
The other part of it is conceptually, what are the impacts that we would be talking about? And that hasn't really been discussed maybe to some people. And I appreciate you reaching out to these different communities. Trusted messengers are very important to really help them understand that.
Yeah. Yep.
Other commissioners? Dr. Birkhoff, just a quick question for you. So you've done this before, obviously that's some of your expertise with ag innovations. Is this an unusual way to do it, just in responding to Commissioner Burgess's question about where you're trying to define some sort of community benefits, but you haven't really assigned the project impacts to it? Is that pretty unusual in your line of work? I know obviously you've got a contract under this one, but I just want to know, in your experience, is that unusual?
I think what's unusual is the Department of Water Resources asking the community early what they want about a community benefits program. What is more typical for me is that the community benefits program gets added on later as a paste on. So that has been my experience. And the last big one of these that I developed was in Ghana, and the mining company had already taken all the homes and taken all the people and moved them off their land and started mining. And then they asked people to participate in a community benefits program. So
that's pretty late in the process. I'm glad we live in America, not in Ghana. So
yeah, so I don't know what is the right way to do it, frankly. Too early and it's too abstract and conceptual, too late and it's too cooked. So
thanks for sharing. Okay. Any other commissioner, in Eric, did you say that Carrie Buckman or somebody else might want to present on this? Did you say?
Well, I don't want to put Carrie on the spot. I did note that she was in attendance, and I just thought that was great in case there were any questions that she cared to weigh in on. I'd certainly welcome her to chime in at any time. But
Sure, yeah. I can chime in for just a minute if you want me to. I think that Juliana did a great job summarizing what we've heard and where we're trying to go. I think I just want to kind of emphasize a couple of things. Yes, I do know that this is early in what we're looking at, but what we're really trying to do now is just try to think about a framework so that we can include it in the EIR, because this is to us an important piece of the project. And we think that it would be lacking if we didn't have that in the EIR. But we know that it will continue to develop as we move from a framework to a program. So there will be quite a bit of work between the framework and coming up with a program that will actually be ready to implement if it does in fact move forward. And the other thing I wanted to emphasize is, well, I guess a couple of things. One of them is that the objective here is that we know that the traditional CEQA process, we will try to mitigate and avoid and reduce effects to the most extent we can, but the traditional process is pretty prescriptive. And so we are really hopeful that this program will give us some opportunity to help the community in ways that the mitigation may not afford. And just emphasizing something that Juliana mentioned as well is that we really do understand that talking to us about community benefits in no way indicates support for the project. And any benefits that come out of it will not be conditional on support of the project. So if there are any questions though for me, I'm also happy to take them.
Okay, thanks, Carrie. Any questions for Carrie? Otherwise, turn to public comment. And again, we just know we had written comments. Is it necessary to summarize those at all, Erik, for the record? Or, I mean, they're all unposted, but.
Yeah, I could certainly paraphrase. I think every one of the submitted public comments to a person, and actually, I don't know if Blake or Natasha can pull up at least the cover sheet from that document just to show who did comment. But I know we got comments from Central Delta Water Agency, South Delta Water Agency, Delta Legacy Communities, Save the California Delta Alliance, Delta Heartbeat Tours, and Barbara Daly. Oh, forgive me. I know I'm missing one or
The
two.
Delta Chambers, California Delta Chambers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How can I ever forget California Delta Chambers? Of course, they commented as well. Blake or whoever has that up on the screen, it has to be much larger to be any use to us. So yeah, and if you can scroll down a bit, thank you. Oh, not quite, there you go, perfect. So this indicates who commented. I think I captured everyone in that introduction. All of these comments are basically saying, suggesting that the commission not participate in the development of the community benefit program. And some of them are state, unless DWR takes some, what I would call rather drastic steps to significantly revise their project, which I don't disagree with them, but I have zero expectation that DWR will do that. So in essence, the comments say, don't participate in the development of the community benefit program. But I certainly don't want to speak for anyone who would like to offer comment. But it was a pretty clear message. If you read these comments in particular, it's almost a unified message of just say no coming from this group.
Thanks, Eric, for the summation. So then one more time, any commission member, any other questions of Carrie or Dr. Birkhoff? If not, I'm going to go to public comment then. Okay, so Madam Clerk, do we have members of the public sign to speak? I'll try to, if we do, I maybe can limit comments to roughly 3 minutes if possible, recognizing we're well into the to the hour here, and we've still got another item that the commission has to hear. So
Yes, Chair Nottoli, at the moment, there are not any hands raised for public comment.
I'm trying to raise my hand. I'm not sure I'm doing it correctly. Can you hear me?
we can hear you. Okay, go ahead. Just if you just identify yourself, and I can see the thumbs up, so we can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm not very Zoom literate. It's Michael Brodsky on behalf of Save the California Delta Alliance, Chairman Nottoli and members of the commission. Thank you for the opportunity to comment. And yeah, we would just urge you to just not participate in this at all. I don't doubt that Dr. Birkhoff is sincere in her effort to reach out to as many people as she can, but the whole purpose of this is to exclude Delta communities, including Delta environmental justice communities, from any meaningful participation in shaping this project. DWR needs this community benefits program. They need to show that there was significant participation by the Delta community in order to get this through the Delta Stewardship Council. The last time around at the Delta Stewardship Council and the Delta Protection Commission participated as an appellant, and Eric may remember this. It got down to the end and the commissioners were basically saying, hey, look, this thing's got some awful impacts on the Delta. And DWR was pretty much backed into a corner and said, yeah, well, we see that, but hey, we've got this great community benefits program to compensate for that. But then DWR couldn't show where there was really a community benefits program. And so that's the reason for this. And DWR is meeting with Delta Stewardship Council staff on a regular basis. Hey, we're putting together this community benefits program. This is compensation for all of the awful impacts this is going to have on the Delta. So, I mean, the way these things are typically done, and I think should be done, is at the outset, there's a negotiation with regard to the project description. The project description is contained in the notice of preparation, the initial CEQA document. And once that project description is written and published, that decides the impacts and the impacts that can't be avoided. For instance, it decides that the intakes are going to be placed right on top of Hood. So there's nothing further that can be done now in any community benefits program or any mitigations that's going to save Hood. That project description basically says the Delta is going to go to salt water. We're not going to have farming in the Delta. We're not going to have a freshwater ecology. And all of that is non-negotiable. So I think the condition should be, hey, look, you want us to participate in a community benefits program and help you get your project approved. Let's sit down and negotiate a project description that we can live with first. And let's put an amount on the table. Typically, these things are 2, 3, 4%, 500, 600, 700 million dollars. You could get all the way through a community benefits process and then have them say, well, hey, here's 5 million or 20 million or some ridiculous amount of money. That 500 or 750 million or whatever it is should be put on the table up front. Thank you very much for the opportunity to offer those comments.
Great. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate your comments and thank you for your correspondence. Okay, we have others.
We have Bill Wells.
Okay, very good. Bill, good evening.
Good afternoon. Thank you. I appreciate being here. Yeah, I hope the commission members will review all the documents that are posted. I'd just like to say about the California Delta Chambers and Visitors Bureau, our board of directors voted unanimously to reject their community benefits fund, and we represent most of the businesses in the Delta and the people. I see no benefit. I see no benefit at all to this for anybody. As Michael Brodsky says, they'll destroy the town of Hood and destroy most of the Delta. So that's basically what I want to say. And again, please review the documents. And if I could add one more thing, Dr. Birkhoff said that this program started in the fall of 2020. Well, I began hearing rumors about this in December of 2019. And as I investigated, and it appeared, I know Catherine Mellon had reached out to members of the SEC, and they were trying to keep it secret as far as the community benefits. So I know there's something else going on besides what's being presented, and I'm still working on that. And if you read Bay and Delta Yachtsman magazine, I publish things in there from time to time. So thank you very much for your time. I urge you to reject this.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you for your correspondence on behalf of the chambers as well. Okay, others, other comments?
We do have Dr. Birkhoff wanting to speak again.
Okay.
I just wanted to clarify that Ag Innovations began the environmental justice survey in the fall. So
okay.
That's when we started our survey. That was that October date.
Thank you for that clarification, Dr. Birkhoff. Madam Clerk, other folks want to offer verbal comment?
I do not see any more hands raised at the moment.
I see Barbara Daly's hand is up.
Thank you. I have not seen that for some reason, but.
Okay, Barbara, where are we?
Okay.
Diane saw your hand up, so we're going with it.
Thank you, Diane. Chairman Nottoli and members
Yes.
of the commission. Just two comments. A short one is there's also a letter there from Michael Campbell representing the Clarksburg region of the Delta that isn't on Erik Vink's list. And I would just like the opportunity to read my comment, which is a little bit different. In fact, I sent in two comments. My name is Barbara Daly. I'm the co-chair of the Delta Protection Commission Advisory Committee. I've been working on this issue with Erik and Mark and with the DPAC committee members. And I brought Michael Brodsky's memo regarding community benefits program to them at the last meeting on May 4th. Working on this with them reminded me of a true story that I'd like to share with you. And there's a moral to this story that I will tell you at the end, but you'll probably be able to guess it. And I'm telling you this story with the request that you support Michael Brodsky's recommendations for participation in the DCA Community Benefits Program with certain stipulations. As co-chair of another group called North Delta Cares Action Committee, I spent days and hours participating in the 2018 State Water Resources Control Board hearings regarding the Twin Tunnels. North Delta Cares was a party during both part 1 and part 2 of that hearing. And Michael Brodsky was our attorney for part 1 and OSHA Meserve was our attorney for part 2. We testified under oath during that hearing about the irreparable damage that the then Twin Tunnels project would cause the Delta. Many residents and members of North Delta Cares from the Clarksburg region participated in that hearing. In fact, during part one, 65 people from the Clarksburg area came to the Cal EPA building where the hearings were being held and read their own public comment to the hearing officers. We spoke against DWR's Twin Tunnels at the time, and that project was subsequently sent back to DWR by the Delta Stewardship Council as not being consistent with the Delta plan in November 2018. North Delta Cares was one of the parties that participated at the Stewardship Council hearing at that time, along with Michael Brodsky, who was also representing Save the California Delta Alliance in Discovery Bay. To go back to the State Water Board hearings, though, another prominent party at the hearings was the family of Suzanne Womack. This is very important because the Womack family owned the property where DWR placed the Clifton Court forebay for the State Water Project. This was and is on their land today. Clifton Court is in the Delta near Tracy. Suzanne Womack and her elderly father were at the hearings testifying that DWRs never paid them properly for their property or for mitigation expenses needed during all these years, as well as for many other expenses the Womacks have experienced because of DWR's project on their property. Even at the hearing with DWR there, they experienced no resolution to their claims. I'm attaching copies of their legal testimony for your information to learn from those hearings. I'm relating this story to you because it is clear evidence that DWR has a history of not providing compensation as promised or due. Where's the money going to come from when it is time to pay their benefits to the Delta? Where's the money coming from for the project, period? We still don't even know the answer to that question. Who should pay? Who will pay? Who will benefit? There's only a promise, if that. There's no legal document that requires payment to our unincorporated legacy towns. The truth is they don't pay. Oroville Dam has not received proper maintenance over the years. The water pipes are leaking throughout Southern California. The California Aqueduct needs attention. The California water infrastructure needs repair. Bottom line, they've not been willing to pay for this. To me, the moral of the story is take care of the past and the future will take care of itself. This is an opportunity, commissioners, a perfect opportunity to work with DWR the right way, to truly create a reliable water supply for all of Californians without destroying the Delta, to actually create viable alternatives, and there are many out there that are not being considered even though we have expressed them, and very importantly, to take reliance off the Delta. This project does none of these that as it is designed, and it won't be done unless you, the Delta Protection Commissioners, insist that it be done the right way. This is the time to take steps toward doing that. I request that you support Mr. Brodsky's recommendations regarding this agenda item, and I thank you all for your time, your consideration, and all of your support. And I attached Suzanne Womack's testimonies. There were 3 attachments that outline all of the things that have happened to them over the years since 1980. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Thanks for reading that into the record, and we do have those attachments. I would just note too that we did receive Michael Campbell's email earlier today, and I believe that's been shared with the commissioners.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
All right. Is there any other hands up or anybody else that we need that wants to be recognized, Madam Clerk?
Yes, there is. There's Dan Whaley. I apologize if I mispronounced that.
Nope, you got it. Mr. Whaley. Dan. Okay.
Thank you. I will be very brief. I think Barbara Daly and Michael Brodsky hit it right on the head. But I will say to you that the Buckner and the CEQA process, if they want to be sincere, they would just say, we designed 4% of this project for community benefits. We're not going to be able to tell what that amount is, and they should just say that. They don't need to meet with us and talk with us because we don't know what damage it's going to do. And they can't predict what damage it's going to do. And that's why this is a huge waste of time. It's premature. And I strongly urge the commissioners to express that to DWR and not participate in this sort of fallacy, oxymoron of community benefits. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you for your correspondence as well on behalf of the legacy communities. Okay, Madam Clerk, anyone else?
I see no Zoom hands raised. If anyone is raising their hands physically, I am not able to see all the videos that are up, so.
Okay. So if we don't see any others, let's bring it back to the commission. I know we've still got one other item that the commission has to attend to, and I said the hour's getting late here, so. And if there is anybody else, we'll come back to them, but let me bring it back to the commission. We have the correspondence, and so if we can do that, I'll bring it back to the commission for discussion and direction deliberation. So. And my screen's still showing the rules for attendees. Can you put the screen up with?
Chair Nottoli, this is Vice Chair Wynn.
Yes.
Comment?
Go ahead.
I appreciate certainly the presentation, but I read the letters, which I'm sure all of us have, and as has been stated by Erik, they're all have different approaches, but basically with the same goal, which is basically to stay out of participate in this program. Comments like the most destructive project in California history and the lack of sanity and logic, things like that. I mean, obviously, those individuals or organizations put a lot of thought and have dealt with this project over the years. The problem with this, and I met back in February with Pat Clark from DWR, and we had a discussion. She asked me some questions and I gave her, but really the bottom line in this particular situation is, and it talks about in our staff report as to, the community benefits projects are designed separate from the environmental impact and mitigation to provide, or offset some of the damage that would be caused from communities that don't benefit from the project itself. And that's going to happen. But, I see this kind of akin to, for example, if somebody came to your house and said, I'll give you all the money you need to remodel your house, to make it like brand new. And you thought, well, that's a great idea. I'll certainly accept that because that will improve my situation, certainly where I live. But on the other side of it, once they do that, then they burn the house down. And what I see with this particular situation is, I don't know how there any kind of benefit to communities. And I understand all the environmental justice and all these things that are going on. But the bottom line is that I don't see, and I'm not as close to it as a lot of you are in regards to living in the Delta and working in Delta and have businesses, et cetera. But with this particular project, I just see the Delta being decimated. I mean, actually dying. Businesses, I can't imagine the construction, how that will inhibit tourism and all the other things that happen. So my personal feeling, and when I met with Pat Clark, my feeling is, if you're talking about a community benefit, then I wouldn't do the project at all. That's the biggest benefit I think that everybody could see and certainly realize. So I would agree with those who've written in, and to frankly, I always have a little bit of concern in regards to these studies, and I understand consultants and I've dealt with them, et cetera, but, and it's not, I'm not saying that negatively, I just understand the process. But I think all of us, certainly those who are on this commission with our constituents, I think most of us have a pretty good idea of what the people who we represent feel about this particular project. And I think they also feel pretty strongly in regards to participation in this community benefit. The one slide that I was interesting, when they talked about the people who are knowledgeable about this project, it's like 95% don't know anything about it. And again, we can ask questions and present things that sound very good and people will buy into, but the bottom line is, it's not the whole story. You can talk about things that you can receive, but it doesn't talk about the things that will happen as a result of this project. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Don.
Yeah, thank you, Chuck. Commissioner Wynn. I have the commission. I do see that we have another hand raised. I trust maybe from member of the public. So let me finish with the commission here and I'll take that public comment in just a moment. Mr. Cox, I believe. Oh, okay, other commissioners? Okay, I've got two. I don't know who's up first, so.
We do, yes, Commissioner Villegas.
Okay.
wishes to
Commissioner
speak.
Villegas.
Just in sum, I'm not going to restate it. In summary, I totally agree with Chuck. I agree with the public testimony. In summary, the item itself was just a presentation of what is happening. I think the sentiment is pretty unanimous here in terms of, the frustration. I think Diane referenced it earlier. No disrespect to the staff, and staff has a job to do and they're doing it well. But I think at the end of the day, those of us that are on the ground representing, millions of people who wrap themselves around the Delta and rely on it for their livelihood, literally depend on it for their life. I think, the writing is on the wall in terms of the belief about what this represents. It's extremely frustrating. And so I don't know, Eric, and maybe you can answer this in summary at the end, whether or not we can simply just leave it as is as a presentation, or whether we want to collectively write a letter back summarizing the concerns that we have and what we think this really is. But I just throw that out for consideration. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Oscar. Eric, did you want to respond? You want to get a commission?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I guess all I will say is that our only participation to date has really been, this thing has been so conceptual in its nature. There really hasn't been much to respond to because at this point, it's just an idea without any detail about program specifics and, more importantly, the funding that would be attached to it to make it meaningful. So our interaction with it has been pretty as general as the details have been attached to this program. And I guess my own feeling is, unless there's something really specific to say about the details of the program as we know it today, which again are highly conceptual, I don't really think there's a lot of benefit to sending a letter saying, conceptually, we think your program, community benefits, or your project is problematic. I would rather, my own recommendation would be to wait and comment formally through the environmental review process, where we'll have an opportunity to see the specific components of the Delta Conveyance project and have a chance to evaluate it with an eye toward how it impacts Delta's place. That would be my own feeling and recommendation to you, but we could fashion whatever the commission would like us to do on this.
Thanks, Eric. Okay, Commissioner Bergeson, I know Mr. Cox, you have your hand up, but I had commission members here in line, and then we'll come to you. I'll allow you to give your testimony.
Thank you, Chair Nottoli. Again, I feel like this is way too early to be talking about community benefit when we really haven't been able to define what the community harm is going to be. I think that there is a lack of trust in this effort, that somehow they're trying to legitimize the efforts by doing this, and some people even feel manipulated as if this is a done deal, and so they have to get their take. And I just want to be very clear that this isn't over. We have so much more to go over to decide what the impacts are going to be. I will not be supporting any type of letter that would define what we would support community benefit, but I would support a letter that says that this is premature and that community benefit should not be addressed until the environmental impacts are addressed. And that would be my take on it.
Thanks, Diane. Okay, I have Commissioner Vasquez.
Thank you, Don. I'm sitting here chuckling because it reminds me of that saying, beware of those who bring you shiny beads and trinkets to buy their way in. And Diane said it seems presumptuous on their part to, I was called and was interviewed by, I don't remember who, and I said, was the deal done? Is that why you're asking us, well, what's it going to take to, smooth the way? And it is, to get us buy-in by offering this, well, what is it you want? What is it you like? It goes against, I think our efforts to make sure that the Delta is taken care of. So I wouldn't want to do anything. I think Diane had a good idea. Simply say we're not going to respond to anything until we'll respond to the environmental document. Anyway, thank you.
Thanks, John. Okay.
It seems like an old song, I'll tell you. We just keep repeating it.
Thank you, John. Okay, Commissioner Vogel. Go ahead, Nancy. I think there you go.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chair Nottoli. I got folks cooking dinner right next to me here. So I just wanted to make sure I understood that DPAC, right, the advisory committee to the commission voted, they had an internal discussion and they voted that the commission should participate in some way. I just wondered if there was more input from the advisory committee about what they thought that participation should be.
My sense, Commissioner Vogel, is that they had received a similar communication from the Save the California Delta Alliance. I don't know if all of the committee members had digested that because it arrived, that afternoon of the committee meeting. But I think the vote really was more in response to that, which to paraphrase, the recommendation was to only participate in the community benefits program if, for starters, DWR withdrew the proposed intake near Hood, really a series of conditions attached that would basically mean the Delta Conveyance project went away entirely. And of course, if the project goes away entirely, there's no need to comment on community benefits program. So that was my take on it in terms of the message that that the advisory committee was trying to forward. It wasn't that everyone thought we were missing out if we didn't participate right away. I think they wanted to leave it up to the commission and perhaps even the commission staff, although maybe I'm reading into that part, to determine when and how best to insert themselves into that process. And again, I'll just repeat that my own, what I've represented on behalf of the commission has been very little because there's been so little to respond to. I think my only comment has been, that's an interesting concept. And we'll look forward to more details, which, that seems to be the appropriate response given where this effort is at this point in time. So I don't know if that answers your question, but my sense was that was really the message that the majority of the advisory committee members were delivering.
Thanks, Nancy. Anything else, Nancy? All right, Mr. Cox has his hand up. He can be the last member of the public, then I'm going to bring it back to the commission. It's, for any final comments, and then we'll entertain a motion. So we'll recognize James Cox.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Mr. Cox.
Okay. I'm Jim Cox. I am on the SEC committee, and I'm also on your advisory committee. And I represent fishing interests on the SEC, and I represent recreational interests on your committee. Fishermen, I'm a retired charter boat captain. I've been involved in the politics of water and fishing going back 40 years. And believe me, the fishing community knows all about promises that aren't being kept by DWR. It's been a trail of that over the last 4 decades. But on the other hand, I think a lot of the comments I'm hearing here where you say, well, we don't know what the damages from this project are going to be. Damages from the project, now I'm not a lawyer, I don't understand, but to my way of thinking, mitigation covers damages that are done by the project. And this is not mitigation. And so to say to wait until we know what the damages are, I don't see how that applies to this. That what this is supposed to be is something that makes it better, not just makes it even like it was before, which to me is what mitigation does. This is something that we would want that would make it better. Now, in my conversations with other fishermen, I have gotten a lot of resistance. I get the same attitude of, well, we don't want to support this at all. And I've put it to them like this, and this is my way of thinking, and I think that the commission should consider this as well, is that this is your opportunity. This is Santa at Christmas. This is your opportunity to ask for anything you might want. And if it happens, then we're a step up. If the project never happens, then none of this makes any difference. And so I think to just say, well, we don't like the project, so we're not going to be involved in this, is that 20 years from now, you may be saying, I wish we had been involved in that community benefits program because now we could do this or we could be doing this. And to me, to just flat say no to it because you don't like the project is kind of putting blinders on. There's any number of ways this project could be stopped, and there's any number of ways this project could continue. And I think to just flat out say we're not going to be involved in a community benefits program, you're really missing an opportunity. So I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you, Mr. Cox. Appreciate your comments. Very good. Okay, that closes out our public comment, and I'll bring it back now to the commission for any further discussion or entertaining direction, either in the form of motion or guidance, however we choose to do that. I heard some commissioners speak to that, so. I know Diane, you spoke to.
Yeah, I can make a motion that the Delta Protection Commission sends a letter that we do not have any comments on community benefit, but would recommend that the environmental impact report get a little further ahead, and then we could see it. To Mr. Cox's comments, I understand what he's saying, but we don't want this process to happen and be used as evidence that they were making the Delta a place when that was something that was lacking before. And so I think that's part of our effort, is to really stand up for Delta as a place. And so I know this is convoluted, so I'll just say we could write a letter, and I would be grateful for my colleagues on the commission to contribute to that, but otherwise we don't need to do anything.
Motion. I'll take that as a form of motion. Second.
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Tom. Later. Okay, so any discussion regarding the motion?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
I'm afraid I wasn't writing fast enough. Can I ask the motion be repeated?
Okay, Diane, you're back on. So everybody.
Well, it was kind of an either or thing, and I was hoping to get some input from my fellow commissioners. There was two things. One, we could write a letter saying, get this cooked more before we'll comment, or we could just sit on it and do nothing. So that was, Commissioner Slater, what were you seconding?
I was seconding, I think, the latter, Commissioner Burgess. I would just as soon leave it alone with no letter written.
Okay. All right. So no action taken then. So there's no motion on the floor then. You're not going to take any action unless you need to take action and say you're not going to take action. Further comments then? We just received the report and we're not moving forward with any action on this, acknowledging the comments received here this evening. All right, if that's the will of the commission. Erik, that's clear?
Yeah, it is. I mean, what I'm hearing is if we're going to do anything on community benefits program, I will bring it back to the commission before we take any action on that.
Very
good. I mean, we'll continue to keep an eye on it. We want to make sure that we are understanding where DWR is going with this effort. But in terms of providing any comment on it, we'll confer with the commission before we do that.
All right, everybody's comfortable with that. That's where we leave this item. Again, thanks to all who weighed in, and thanks to our staff. Thanks to Dr. Birkhoff and all our commenters this evening. So with that, I'm going to recuse myself at this juncture with item 11. As already noted, there's currently appeal before the Delta Stewardship Council under the ex parte requirements. I will need to recuse myself from this item. I'll actually leave the meeting. And so I'm going to turn back over to Mr. Nguyen, who was gracious enough to start the meeting. So Chuck, it's going to be in good hands for you and the commission to complete the rest of the work. And again, thanks everybody for understanding this evening. And I will be leaving at this point. So.
And Don, before you leave, just
Yes.
a question. Did you want to cover item 4, which is the report?
Oh, I did. I gave a brief report. I did it. Yeah, I'm so brief. You missed it.
Okay. All right.
We're good. Unless there's any questions. Yeah, I did just tomorrow we continue the appeal, Chuck, hearing, and then we will also have reports on the Delta levy investment strategy update, as well as the independent science board's report on invasives and some discussion about their work. So those are the 3 main items for tomorrow.
Okay. All right. I thought maybe you had more. Anyway,
No,
thank
that's
you.
it. No, very good. Thanks a lot, everyone. Okay. Good night.
Take care. Okay, I'll turn it over to you, Eric, for item number 11.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. And I will be both brief, but also I want to make sure I cover all the bases on the background here. So California Department of Water Resources is proposing a tidal habitat restoration project called the Lookout Slough Tidal Habitat Restoration and Flood Improvement Project. And I'll just refer to that as Lookout Slough for shorthand. So DWR filed a Delta Plan certification of consistency for Lookout Slough with the Delta Stewardship Council on February 22nd of this year. There were 4 appeals that were filed by the March 24th deadline. The hearing on that appeal started today at 9 a.m. this morning. I'm envious of Chair Nottoli because we were both there from the start and he gets to go home before me, but I'm going to see this matter through. The appeal was today. In preparation for the appeal hearing, I authored a letter on behalf of the commission or from the commission that is a part of your meeting packet. The timing on these things couldn't be more unforgiving. The appeals were filed subsequent to our last commission meeting. I certainly anticipated there would be appeals, but I didn't know from whom and on what grounds. So I had no opportunity to brief the commission at our March 18th meeting about which the header on this slide is wrong, by the way, but I'm glad for that reminder that the meeting was March 18th. I had no opportunity to brief the commission at that time. And then our materials were due in advance of the hearing today. So I pinned a letter with staff assistance that is in your meeting packet. When I presented at the Delta Stewardship Council today, I was careful to indicate, even though I was not so careful in the letter, and for that I issue a mea culpa and apologize. It should have been very explicit in the letter that the commission had taken no formal action on what I submitted. I did make the council members clear this morning, stated very clearly at the outset that although the letter had not been endorsed by the commission prior to my sending it, that I did intend to take the matter up, and in fact, it was on our meeting agenda for this afternoon. So the letter is rather substantive for the letters that we write. I acknowledge that. I think the issues are very important, and the issues that are the focus of the letter have to do with the Lookout Slough project's impacts on recreation in that part of the Delta, and specifically the recreation on the adjoining Liberty Island Ecological Reserve, which is a California Department of Fish and Wildlife owned and managed property on the other side of Shag Slough, where Lookout Slough is located. And then in addition, the letter emphasized levy funding, and to paraphrase, arguing that the Delta Plan states, at least the current version of the Delta Plan related to levees and levee protection in the Delta, states that levy funding should be roughly equal amongst 9 different goals. And through analysis that we completed, it was very clear, even under a pretty conservative review and allocation of where levy funding to date has fallen amongst those 9 goals, it was pretty clear that some aspects of the Delta Plan levy goals are underfunded, and other aspects of the Delta Plan levy goals are quite handsomely funded. There might be some very good reasons for that, but in this case, the argument, which is not dissimilar from what we discussed at the commission meeting back in either January or November, regarding when I brought a proposed letter to the commission expressing concern about Department of Water Resources allocation of Delta levy funding to, in essence, habitat restoration projects at the expense of providing levy funding for improving flood protection in the Delta, which was the intention, the clear intention behind the Proposition 1 Delta Levy Grant Funding Program. So forgive me, I'm kind of roaming all over the place, but to sum it up, the letter before you has 2 focuses. One is on the recreation impacts, which is the bulk of the letter, and the other is on the levy funding impacts. There are other appeals that presented concerns regarding invasive species, water quality, even inconsistency with local land use in different stripes. The focus I chose to emphasize in the letter, because I really do think it's very central to how we go about protecting and enhancing the unique Delta values, was restricted to recreation and levees. And so what I'm asking this evening is for the commission to endorse the letter. I would like to be able to report to the Delta Stewardship Council that the commission did endorse these comments. And that's consistent with the action that our commission took back when the Delta Tunnels project, Cal Water Fix, was before the Delta Stewardship Council for a consistency determination appeal process. And the commission participated in that, as we participated today, and as we are given the opportunity to participate in every Delta Plan certification of consistency appeal. And at that time, back in Cal Water Fix, we did follow up the initial submittal with a formal endorsement of the comments from the commission. I might not have done a sufficient job of covering this. I hope I did it somewhat expeditiously, but also with enough thoroughness that I haven't left too many questions in your mind. I did present today before the Delta Stewardship Council. I spent about 20 minutes going through some of the highlights of this letter. And of course, as Chair Nottoli indicated, that hearing will continue with public comment tomorrow. And then It will come back to the Delta Stewardship Council on July 15th and 16th. Our next commission meeting is July 15th as well, for their final determination on this appeal. So, Mr. Vice Chair, that's a little bit of background and the request that I make to you all this evening.
Chuck, this is John Vasquez.
Go ahead, John.
Well, do we have our attorney on? I need to ask a question.
Yes, Carlos Mejia, the Commission Counsel, is here on the meeting.
Yeah, so I don't know if I should recuse myself. I happen to sit on one of the agencies that filed suit. And some time back, the Board of Supervisors, Slough County Board of Supervisors filed suit, and we ended up with an agreement with the state. They also have applied or in the application process for applying to vacate a road. I don't know that I should make any comments about what's going on at Lookout Slough since it is in Slough County. I'm just asking, should I leave? What should I do next?
Commissioner, good evening. This is Deputy Attorney General Carlos Mejia, the Commission's counsel. It is not necessary for you to recuse yourself. As you noted, the matter is currently pending before the Delta Stewardship Council, and the item currently pending before the Commission is simply a discussion of the Commission's own views of the project, but the Commission ultimately does not have, at this moment in time, an adjudicatory or decision-making function here, so recusal is not necessary.
All right, I probably won't vote on the letter anyway, just to.
Any other questions or comments for Erik? Or
Vice Chairman Nguyen?
Yeah, Commissioner Slater.
Yeah, I happen to have sat in on the entire meeting today that Erik referenced, and so I can vouch for everything Erik just said. He presented everything very fairly and openly. And if there's no other further discussion, it's my opinion as a neighbor to some of these RDs and some of the litigants and appellants that I'm glad it's before the Stewardship Council and they will do the right thing, I trust. And so I would, when you're ready, I would be willing to make a motion to approve the letter that Erik wrote on our behalf and distributed today with the hope that we could go tomorrow and say the entire board voted on it.
Okay.
Chuck, if I could ask one more question of council.
Hey, John.
Currently in communications with DWR on coming up with an MOU in regards to recreation. Does that further complicate it, my position?
Again, Commissioner, no, I don't believe that it does. Because this matter is only pending before the Commission at this moment, in the role of the Commission's potential commentary upon it, and because the Commission does not at this moment in time have a decision-making role, your recusal is not required even with those new facts.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chair, can I just ask you, this is Oscar. I apologize. I've been kicked out, I think 4 times. I got multiple things going on here. The internet's just kicking me out. But so I think I picked up on most of it. I guess a question, given what John just said in terms of ongoing discussions, does that require, does that necessitate an addendum or amendment to the letter, or is the letter okay as is, given what John just said? Because I know that typically during these conversations, there are, well, I don't want to speak out of turn. I mean, typically the state does try to figure out how to avoid litigation, if you will. And I'm just wondering, given what John just said, given the ongoing conversations, maybe Erik wasn't privy to all of it, but I wonder if the letter needs to reflect that, or is it good as is? And I don't know. I'm just asking, given the position that we're in at this moment. And I would simply just ask in the future, when these kinds of letters are taken, I know the timing wasn't good, so I apologize, Erik, but in the future, it probably ought to be communicated with members of the board, despite the fact that the chair represents the Stewardship Council. That would have been a conflict. But I think these kinds of letters on an appeal of something of this sensitivity ought to be communicated with the commission at some level. And maybe there was correspondence to that effect. I don't know. I didn't see it. But I would just, and I'm sure there's a process matters. I guess I'll just say that in summary. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I appreciate the comment, Commissioner Villegas, and ideally and normally I would have brought this before the commission before submitting. I mean, we certainly provide comment on land use projects, whether by local agencies or even state or federal agencies, consistent with our responsibilities for the land use and resource management plan. We do that on a regular basis, but this is, I acknowledge, this is a slightly different level of involvement and significance than those land use comment letters that we provide on project EIRs and EISs. And I wish the timing had worked. I didn't, maybe, I mean, I can certainly be able to communicate with a couple of members of the commission, but I get my hand slapped rightfully by Carlos if I do anything more than that. And so maybe there's a way to do as you indicated, but I'm always very sensitive to making sure that I'm not running afoul of Bagley-Keene Act in terms of doing our business outside of these regularly scheduled meetings.
Well, I appreciate it, Eric. I would offer this, and I'm sure the others, elected officials, certainly have encountered these types of urgencies in regards to communicating with the body. And I'll defer to our council. I'm assuming that the Delta Protection Commission can hold special sessions if we do proper notice. And so the question would arise, and since we're currently doing obviously virtual meetings, that it would be an opportunity in the future, even when we're meeting in person, to hold this type of meeting, at least to let the commissioners weigh in with their input and any concerns they have, because there might have been, although I find nothing wrong with the letter, and I understand that the conclusion in regards to remand, but I think the important thing is that commissioners, as board members, council members, those types of things, do need an opportunity at least to express their concerns or comments if there are any. And if they're not, then that's even better, because then you can feel confident when it goes forward, as you can simply state, whether it be testimony or in the letter itself, that you have the support of the commissioners themselves. So I would just offer that in future processes, as Oscar talks about, process is important, but that would be an opportunity for making sure that we don't have these discussions. And again, I find nothing wrong with the letter, and I'll open it up to the rest of the commissioners if there's any concerns that any of you have in regards to the content. I would use the term substantial. 14 pages is quite a lengthy document, and I appreciate the effort that you and staff put into it. But again, I'll open it up to the rest of the commissioners, any comments or questions you might have before we move forward.
Commissioner Vogel has.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll limit my comments to the process. And I just wanted to echo what Vice Chair Wynn and Commissioner Villegas said, and that at a minimum, it would have been better had the letter noted that the commission had not discussed or approved the letter. And I do appreciate that Executive Director Vink did mention that when he spoke before the Delta Stewardship Council today, but I wish the letter had reflected that. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Vegas, Vasquez.
Thank you. I respect the attorney's opinion, but your ethics class tells you if it doesn't feel right, don't engage. And so I'm going to side on the caution of Erik as to not become an abstention or no or yes. And I'm going to lead the discussion right now so that I'm not recorded either way, if that works.
That's perfectly fine.
Thank you, sir.
That's your decision to make.
Yep.
Okay. Anyone else? I don't see any hands raised.
There's no commissioner hand raised.
Go ahead. No one?
There's no commissioners' hands that are raised at this time.
Got it. Okay. All right. So anyone, I know it's after the fact, but would the I'll leave it to Erik. Is your expectation, other than information, that the board vote on this, or are you content with just the fact that we discussed it and are aware of it?
I would prefer that the commission take action on this, just based on the again, in the Cal Water Fix example, the applicant, in that case also DWR, questioned the letter because it had not been formally approved by the commission. So I would just like to avoid any question on that for this proceeding before the Delta Stewardship Council.
Okay.
And I certainly hear the message loud and clear. If I were to do this again, I would just have worked with the vice chair to find a time to call a special meeting when we could discuss this matter and, get it in the right sequence instead of, bringing you something that's already really been unleashed out there in the world.
No problem.
Vice Chair Nguyen, it came up really fast for us, so we didn't even have a chance to really react to it. So I appreciate the timeline, and I believe Mr. Vink has heard from us. So I will make a motion that we endorse the May 11th letter from Executive Director Vink to the council regarding appeals of Lookout Slough Tidal Habitat Restoration and Flood Improvement Project Delta Plan Certification of Consistency.
Thank you for that thorough motion. We have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Commissioner Slater. All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Chair, would you like to ask for a public comment first before moving to a vote?
Thank you. I was going to mention that.
All right. Thank you both. Do we have any comments from the public?
Okay, there are no hands up at the moment, but always good to put the call out.
I'm waiting for anybody to speak up. Okay, hearing none. Okay, now I'll have roll call. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Nguyen?
Yes.
Commissioner Villegas? I know he's had some trouble. Commissioner Villegas? Okay, moving forward. Commissioner Burgess?
Yes.
Commissioner Fuller?
Aye.
Commissioner Nakanishi?
Yes.
Commissioner Paroli?
Yes.
Commissioner Slater?
Yes.
And I believe Commissioner Agar is no longer in the meeting. So Commissioner.
No.
I'm here and yes.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Lester Moffitt?
No.
Commissioner Vogel?
No.
Commissioner Bush?
Commissioner Bush left the meeting at 5 p.m.
Thank you. Okay. Vice Chair Nguyen, I have 7 yeses.
Actually, could you ask if Commissioner Villegas, if he's back on the meeting? I don't know if he left and has come back, or maybe he's just left the meeting. But
Yes, I will check again. Commissioner Villegas? Calling for your vote.
And I think there's someone else that you might have missed by my count, but maybe not. Are there any commissioners who were not called?
I did not call Commissioner Vasquez.
Yeah, he left the meeting.
Yeah.
The Chair Nottoli, of course, left the meeting. So maybe that's right then. Yeah, that is. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Do you want me to try to call Commissioner Villegas to get him on the phone via my internet
Well,
connection? That's probably a little complicated.
yeah, there is a quorum, so it's not a question of having a quorum. I just wanted to make sure we weren't overlooking him, and I didn't notice that he had dropped off the meeting.
Okay. Well, in light of all that, then we do have 7 yeses and 2 noes and 0 abstains.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other commissioner comments before we adjourn? Okay.
All right. Mr. Vice Chair, just a reminder, the next commission meeting is scheduled for Thursday, July 15th.
Thank you. Just a question, Erik. I'm in some of the other boards and commissions I'm sitting on. In July, we're going to start meeting in person. Has that been discussed at all?
Good question, Vice Chair Wynn. I did have a brief conversation with Chair Nottoli about that, and we've decided we're going to see how things go over the next month in terms of what the directives are coming from the state. Since we are a state agency and we're conducting these meetings under an emergency order, it's possible that the emergency order might be adapted in some way relative to Bagley-Keene meetings. That's the public meeting, the open meeting law that we operate under. So it's a good question. We're talking about it at the commission staff in terms of, when we're able to, how can we, incorporate the best features of these web-based meetings into something that looks more like a, the meetings the way we used to have them. It's all a long way of saying we don't know yet, but if maybe I could ask this question and ask for a show of hands if we, or maybe it's too early, if we were to hold a meeting where there was the option to be there in person or to join remotely, would there even be any interest on anyone's part in being there in person? And maybe I can, instead of trying to do this now, maybe I can just communicate offline with commissioners about their preferences regarding that. But I think that'll have something to do with whether we recommend a hybrid meeting or sticking with the Zoom format. I don't think we are quite yet ready to go back to fully meeting in person, but I appreciate that your individual boards and councils are probably starting to make those moves.
We are, and I guess what I would say, and I think you're right, Erik, it is probably too early. Unfortunately, we don't know the parameters by which we can meet. Our county board meetings are in person again, and other boards and commissions are going to start. So why don't we put that on your list of things to do? As we learn more information, then put it out to the commission members and ask their opinion at that time when we have a better idea of what kind of hybrid meeting or in-person meeting that we can actually hold.
Great. Okay.
All right. Any other comments before I adjourn? I see no hands, etc. So I want to thank all your participation and appreciate your comments. And with that, I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting, and we'll meet again in July. Thank you.